Hello everyone, welcome to GametechUK and this video, which is a review for the Amiga A500 Mini. As always, we're going to take a look around the box, have a look at the products and see the actual unit in action. I was fairly late to the Amiga 500. I had it as a second-hand unit and had a huge collection of games already with it, so I was able to catch up very quickly with how great this machine actually is. Also, for transparency, I purchased this myself. It wasn't sent by anyone. This is my own purchase. I love these mini units. I've got the Commodore 64 unit. I think they're fantastic. So let's get on with today's video and have a look at the unit. Let's start by having a look around the box, and you can see front and center is a picture of the Amiga 500. It's such a lovely computer. I always really like the look and the shape and the color of the A500. Also lets you know on the front of the box that it's included with the mouse and the joystick. On the side of the box it tells us more about the features, and of course it states that this is an emulator. There's no real Amiga hardware inside this smaller version of the A500. This is all done through emulation, and it emulates the Amiga 500, 600 and the 1200 as well. One great feature of this unit is the fact that it does come with 25 games that are individually set up for this emulator, so everything works perfectly out the box with the controller, but you can add your own USB games, and that's going to really extend the longevity of a product like this. And it's by the same company that did the Commodore 64 Mini, and you can add your own games on that, and like I say, it's just going to add longevity for the future. On the back of the box there's a visual list of the 25 games that are included, and of course the obligatory legal message on the bottom of the box just saying that the games have to be legally obtained if you are going to plug them in via USB. On the side of the box it gives us a visual indication for the connections on the back of the unit, starting with an on-off switch, powered by USB-C, HDMI out and 3 USB sockets. That's one for the mouse, one for the controller that's included, and an additional USB if you do want to add a second game controller. As we open up the box for the first time, we get our first glimpse of the A500 Mini, and I don't know how they've done it, but they've got the colours absolutely spot on, and the actual model itself is perfectly reproduced, and it is a really high quality. I don't know whether they 3D printed it or moulded it, but it's extremely high quality. Here's a look out the box, and it's funny how these Amigas always looked old even when they were brand new. They had this almost instant discolouring that is captured perfectly on the A500 Mini. That quality carries on around the unit, both on the blank side and with the floppy disk. The replication here is also really cool. And there of course in the flesh is those connections that we saw on the side of the box. Inside the main box we have two separate boxes, one for the mouse, one for the controller. The mouse is a replica of the original Tank 2-button mouse that come with the Amiga 500, and again they've got the colouring right, they've even got the right colour for the cable. The games controller it comes with is actually based on the CD32 games controller, and it works perfectly with all the games here. You've also got a fairly comprehensive instruction booklet. Here we have the unit fully set up with the mouse in place, the controller, and one thing that I really do appreciate with this unit is that they've kept the cables to the unique original colour of the machine. So we haven't got this sort of beige machine with lots of black cables. Everything's in keeping with the retro feel of this unit. So now we're all set up, let's go through, have a look through the game menu, have a look through some of the games and also some of the options that this machine actually gives you whilst playing the games. Let's start by taking a look at the options. You've got display options. In here you've got 3 choices for how you want to view the game on your screen. So you can have a fixed size, a moderate zoom, or you can fit it all the way to your screen. There's also an option to enable the sort of scan lines of a classic CRT screen. I leave this on, I like this option, and I've left enable image smoothing on as well. Then we go down to system options. Here you can change the mouse sensitivity and the volume of the music. The LED, the little light on the front of the actual Amiga unit, I switched that to mimic Amiga behavior because I want it to be as closest to the original as possible. If we go into language options, you can see there's 6 different languages. Go down to advanced options, television settings. Ideally, you want to choose the 50 Hz output. Obviously, you'll select that and your TV will tell you whether you can choose that option or not. But that is the most sort of realistic and faithful to the original sort of optimal frame rate. Then we go down to system information, just gives you the build. We've got legal notices, and we've got factory reset if you do change anything and you want to set it back to factory. Here you can also shut down the device, but you can use the button on the back of the unit. Here we are on the game selection screen. Couple of options you've got. If you go up on the D-pad, it will give you the bindings for each individual game. This changes per game, so that's always useful and helpful to have. And also you can save the game at any time and load it at any time as well, which is really useful with these older games. Let's start looking at the games. Let's go in alphabetical order. This is Alien Breed 3D, a very dated game that you're probably not going to spend much time on these days. Then we have Alien Breed Special Edition 92. This is by Team 17, and this was one of my favourite games. I remembered this vividly as soon as I loaded it up. It almost reminds me of Gauntlet in a way, but I love the art style, and this is an extremely playable game. Another World is a side-scroller, but with one of the most fantastic introductions that I think would even stand up today in the world of indie gaming. Another game by Team 17 is Arcade Pool. This is 1994 and it is as playable today as it was back then. This is also a game where you use the mouse to control the game. Another Team 17 game, All Terrain Racing. This was on the Amiga and the CD32 as well. Interestingly enough, this got such a low score from Amiga Power magazine that the Team 17 actually took out a case for defamation. We then have Battle Chess, but I know nothing about chess, so I wouldn't even open that game. Then we've got a isometric adventure game called Cadaver. Now, I vividly remember this one as well. As soon as I loaded this up, I spent a lot of time on this. The graphics are great. It almost looks like a remake of a retro game that would sell really well today. Absolutely love it. One for all the family, California games. Get the friends and family round. You'll be playing this for hours. The Chaos Engine from 1993 is a top-down run and gun. It's playable enough, but it is made unnecessarily difficult by the directional pad. It's really hard to actually pinpoint where you're firing. Dragon's Breath is a fantasy strategy game where you control one of 3 Dragon Lords, but I'll be totally honest with you, I couldn't work out what to do. F-16 Combat Pilot was probably very good in its day. I never played it before, and it's showing its age too much, I think, to spend too much time in now. Kickoff 2, don't like football, so I would never open that. Then we've got Lost Patrol. This is a strategy role-playing game. Puts you in charge of the survivors of a US helicopter crash during the war in Vietnam. It's alright. Again, it's one of them ones I couldn't really fully work out what to do. Paradroid 90 was actually originally a Commodore 64 game ported to the Amiga. It's a top-down puzzle shooter. It's okay, the graphics are really nice and colourful and you can actually spend a bit of time on it. Pinball Dreams contains 4 different tables for you to play on. Pinball really become quite popular, especially on the 8 and 16-bit era. It really was a great subject to try and replicate on your PC. Yet another game on the machine by Team 17. This is Project X, a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up. Nothing to really note here, but it is extremely playable because the genre is so great. Quack is a very cute 2D puzzle platformer that actually was on the Acorn Electron and BBC Micro in 1989, but it did come to the Amiga through Team 17 in 1993. It's actually really playable. The Sentinel is a 3D puzzle game. I don't think this is really going to be much use of your time other than just to simply remind you how far gaming has actually come. Simon the Sorcerer is a very charming point-and-click adventure by a British developer known as AdventureSoft. Then we have my favourite game on this machine, another game by the Bitmap Brothers, Speedball 2. It's fantastic. It's a mixture between handball, ice hockey. It's 1990. This is the epitome of couch multiplayer, and it is in desperate need of a remake. Stunt Car Racer was a fantastic game back in the day on many machines, including the Amstrad CPC 464. It hasn't really stood the test of time very well, and again, a reminder of how far things have actually moved along. Supercars 2 is included, and pretty much a lackluster version of Super Sprint. It's very frustrating, the frame rate is very poor, and not really much playability in this title. Titus the Fox is a side-scrolling platform game. Actually, it's huge. There's over 900 screens in this game. It's bright, it's colourful, and it's actually very playable. We then have the much-loved Worms Director's Cut. This was developed by Team 17, but actually published by Ocean Software in 1997. It's a great inclusion to have on this machine. Last but not least, Zool. This is 1993, published by Gremlin Graphics. This was designed specifically to go head-to-head with Sonic the Hedgehog. It never did as well as Sonic, but it did do very well and got ported to absolutely everything. So, do I ultimately think that this is worth purchasing or worth the asking price? Well, the answer is a very mixed one. It depends if you want to collect stuff like this, if you appreciate the history of what you're actually getting in your hands. There's nothing here that really can't be emulated online, and ultimately the model of the A500 is simply a case. It doesn't operate. If you want to type anything in, you can do it on the on-screen keyboard, or you can in fact plug a keyboard into this unit. But it could just be a blank oblong unit that this hardware is contained within. It isn't. It's contained in this beautifully reproduced A500, and that's ultimately what you're paying for. The 25 games it comes with are all most welcome. They're pretty good games, broad appeal, so you can sit down with a family and someone will enjoy almost every single game on the unit. And of course you can add as many games as you wish using that USB functionality. The unit itself is £110, so as I say, it depends really if you really appreciate something like this, and this is something that you'll get out maybe a couple of times a year, 3 or 4 times a year, birthdays, Christmas, when the family come around to enjoy a bit of retro gaming. That price includes the controller and the mouse as well, so as a complete unit it's £110, and you can purchase another controller at an additional £20. I think out of the two, if I was comparing this A500 with the Commodore 64 Mini, I think even though it's slightly more expensive than the A500, I do prefer the Commodore 64 Mini. I think I've got more emotional connection to that range of games, and I really like the replica Kempston joystick that comes with it. The Mini that I'm really after is the Amstrad CPC 464. I'll be so happy if they do that. But I do think these are great collector's pieces. Nice that you can plug them into a modern TV. That's not to be overlooked as well. You don't need any special analog to digital equipment. This will go straight in to HDMI. I do hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you are looking to purchase the A500, I hope the information contained in this video has helped you and your buying decision. I will put up a playlist actually top right of your screen with all my hardware reviews contained in that playlist. But that is it everyone. Have a lovely day, and I will see you in the next one.